Welcome, everybody. We have another podcast interview today with the local real estate agent here in Des Moines. It's Megan Mitchum, and she's going to share with us today just how she started out initially in real estate, coaching almost immediately, how coaching is for some people and for not, and also when you're in a sticky deal or you're trying to get through a situation, there is one trick, one tip that she has for us today that rings true throughout the conversation. And we'll dig into that here in just a second. Well, Megan, I appreciate you coming on to the podcast. Today is going to be a fun day. So they say the podcast studio is packed. So we'll get in here, out of here within, a couple hours.
We will be efficient. Yes.
No, it's good. So yeah, thanks for coming on. I reached out to you. Every time I have a guest on, I try to ask them, who have they worked with in the market that was a good experience, or who would be good on a podcast, or tells good stories, or would have good experience. And I honestly don't remember who it was, but they're like, Megan Mitchum. She should come on and, tell her story.
Really?
And yes,
okay.
yes. It's got to be one of, it was either, I'd have to go back and look. I want to say it was Beth Ernst, but I'd have to go back and look. It was one of the early guests that I had on.
Awesome. So, well, thank you for having me. I appreciate the ask, and I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, it's one of those. We'll just give back to the community of real estate agents and lenders. So before we get into the real estate part of it, before you were in the real estate world, what'd you do?
Life?
Yeah, who were you?
So I graduated from the University of Iowa and went into this management trainee program with a commercial printer here in Des Moines. And the whole goal of that is you would go through this program, you'd learn all the ins and outs of the printing business, and then you would go and run a printing company somewhere in the United States. And I started with Garner Printing and worked on the presses, worked in pre-press, worked with film, worked with all the binding, everything, shipping, everything. And then I settled into like a customer service role working for one of the salesmen, and actually loved it because it was an opportunity to, really work in sales and provide all of the, learn all the ins and outs, but also work with clients. And he trusted me with a lot of the clients. And so that kind of probably bred my love for being in sales. And, what you do is kind of how what you make of it. And also the, no ceiling on commissions.
Yeah. So you're a customer service, but it was a commission style.
Yeah. So he actually paid me based on his commissions. He gave me a bonus quarterly. So then I had a friend, I did that for about 6 years. And what made you comfortable going into a commission role? Just seeing, I guess, just seeing how hard he worked and how he was rewarded. And I feel like I was like, I can do that.
Yes.
And I was also being paid salary as well. But the commission part of it, as we were doing better and better and better, it became harder and harder and harder to leave because I was like, oh, well, next quarter is going to be really good. I better stay around, so then I got to feel like, oh gosh, everyone around me has been here for their entire life. And I was like, I don't know if I want to sell printing for the rest of my life. So a friend of mine got into real estate in the Ames office, and she was like, you should do this too. And I'm like, well, that sounds cool. I'll do it.
What year roughly?
That was 2004.
Okay.
And so I went through the classes. I did them online at home before internet.
Online was normal. Yeah,
it was like dial up. So I would do these classes and go do a page, read it, then go fold some laundry, come back and read the next page. It was awful. And it took me 6 months. I think you had to do it within 6 months. So it took me the full 6 months. And then you had to take the test in the next 6 months. But I still was going through this next quarter is going to be really good. I should stick around. And so finally I was like, okay, now I'm at the end of my timeline. I have to do something. Yeah. And so I made the switch. I quit Garner Printing. I started at Century 21 the very next week. And I was ready to hit the ground running. And it really didn't. I kind of had a built-in cushion with some of the stock options and things that I had through the previous company that kind of floated me for a little bit. But I remember sitting down with our broker, Joe, and he said, well, what are you going to do to be successful? And I said, I don't have a choice. Like I have to be. And that's really dumb as it is. That's really how I started out. And then I feel very, very fortunate that he was a big supporter and proponent of the Buffini Company. And I started 100 Days to Greatness in my first week of real estate. So if there's a poster child for that system, I would say that it would be me.
Yeah, but you're one of many there.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's funny, those programs, those coaching, let's get into that a little bit. Just the agents that you see successful, like how many are doing coaching, how many are not? Or like, what is your thought process on, obviously coaching has impacted you. Is it for everybody? Is it not?
It's not for everybody. I mean, one of the biggest things is showing up and being coachable. And I think that is sometimes really hard. Like you have to be in the mindset and the mind frame to do it. I think that, consistent with a lot of realtors is being a free spirit and not wanting to be, sitting in a cubicle or working certain hours, being told what to do. But then also that is detrimental because
that is how you make money.
Yes. You have to be told what to do. So systems are everything. Now I would love to be a huge systems person and I do have a lot of systems, but I also don't want to be told what to do. So, trying to schedule things and block my time is really important to keep doing. But I also like being a free spirit too. And if I want to go do something, I want to go do it.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. When you're working with agents, how do you know that it's going to be a good experience working with that agent? Like at what point do you know?
They pick up the phone. They answer the phone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No text?
Texting is fine, but there is so much lost in that, and it will drive me crazy when I want to speak to them and just have a conversation or talk about this buyer or this seller or whatever. Or just like, hey, we're here to put a deal together. What's important? Yeah, working together. And we do a lot over text. We get a lot done and it's amazing. But some things just need to be talked about. Yeah. And just having that conversation, it can go so much farther. Yeah. So if I run into a situation where nobody will pick up the phone, I get kind of annoyed. But sometimes you have to deal with it. But
yeah, it's annoying, and it's not annoying because you're just like, I just really want to talk. It's like I want to get this deal done. Yeah. And I think, given my 20 years of experience, getting on the phone with someone is going to get it done faster or better than a text.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
yeah, exactly.
I think a lot of I'll be honest, when I was first starting out, getting on the phone with an experienced agent, I was like, ooh, they're going to talk me into something that I don't want. Right. And I'd gotten over that pretty quick, just having a lot of conversations, but it's definitely the first thought of new agents.
Sure. And I think we've all been there.
Yeah.
20 years ago, we didn't have much of a choice. You had to pick up the phone. But I do think, again, so much gets lost in translation via text, and a lot of times it's great and it works out fine. But a lot, there's a key piece of it to having conversation.
Yeah. So that's usually my question is like, what makes a good agent? What makes an agent good? And it's always communication.
Yeah.
What about like, how do you know, obviously picking up the phone, what else is it about the agent that you're like, ooh, this is going to be a good transaction, or what's their communication style that puts you at ease?
Probably just timeliness too. I understand everybody has situations where, if you're in appointments all day, you can't get to your client or whatever, but just be open and communicate about it. So I think, again, it all comes down to communication, right?
Yeah, it's so true.
Yeah. Yeah. So even if there's a lapse in communication, just talk about it and say, hey, this is why, or whatever,
Yeah. What about like the agents that don't communicate well? Is like, do you think they know, and it's just a part of their business model that it's not part of their value proposition, because it isn't necessarily their clients that they're not talking to. Sometimes it is, but
sometimes it is.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a lot of, maybe fear where maybe we're presenting an offer that isn't ideal and they know it and they're not excited to talk to their client, or their client is going to take it out on them, or even vice versa. But I think framing the conversation with your client and just getting the job done. I mean, you have to talk about it.
Yeah.
You have to talk about it.
The framing is super important. I noticed that when the very first when I started, I had a lot of deals fall out of contract during inspection. And I was like, I'm doing something wrong. And I totally was. I just wasn't preparing framing for the client. And then framing the other agent, hey, just to let you know, like, this is probably going to be an inspection addendum. So you probably need to frame that with your sellers. And
then I always think too, like, there's so much of that can be discussed and framed even at the listing appointment. It's all framing and all setting them up for expectations. When you've been through hundreds of homes and hundreds of home inspections, you can kind of walk through the house, and obviously we can't see through walls, but you can pinpoint a lot of things that may come up, or, hey, just so you know, this is probably going to come up. Start thinking about it, or prepare for it, or do something about it, so, but that all just takes experience, and we were all new at one time. And I think even as the new person, just saying, hey, this is maybe one of my first transactions, so any advice you've got for me,
Yeah, I would imagine more experience. You're way more experienced than I am, but if a newer agent said that to me, I'd be like, absolutely, I'll absolutely help you. Like, let's get it done, because we both get paid when it goes to the table.
Yes, and also hopefully we will work together again in the future, and we want this to be a good experience. And I think it's beneficial for everybody. Yeah.
So the premise of the podcast is to work together. Why do you think it's so common that agents talk crap about each other?
Because it's competitive.
You think so?
I do. I mean, I don't think, we're in the same market. Are we competing against each other? Not really. Yeah. But there's unfortunately value placed on experience, volume, things.
Did you say
like that.
Unfortunately?
Yes, because some people aren't driven. No, unfortunately, because I think that creates like competition sometimes, and makes others feel uncomfortable about, like, I am driven to not necessarily to compete, but I have goals and I'm very driven towards them. Now, some people aren't driven. They do a great job, but they're not. It's like the volume doesn't motivate them. Yep. Right. And so that creates, I think, some sort of competition, or
a hierarchy, a level of volume. You're a $10 million producer versus a 20 versus a 2.
Yeah. Right.
I got you.
Right.
Okay.
So, so I think, like, it's so important to work together, because again, that really creates what happens 2 years, 5 years, 10 years down the road. I mean, how you interact with each other. Yeah.
Yeah. The deals that get done with agents that I've had personal experience with in the past is like, their deals are just so much smoother.
Yeah. Hopefully.
Almost always. Yeah. Unless it was a bad experience, and then you're like, well, I knew that was coming.
But also the bad experiences, sometimes, if you've had them more than once with a certain agent, then you kind of know going in and how to respond.
Yes.
So
unfortunately,
we have those experiences too.
Yes. Okay. Now for the lenders, working together with lenders in today's lending advice. So it's November 2024. The lending environment right now, I've had a boatload of lenders reach out looking for new realtor relationships. Right before, like from 20 to 23, I didn't have very many reach out, just a handful, and I kind of seeked out the ones that I wanted to use. So when you're picking your favorite lenders, or you're excited about working with a lender, maybe it's not your preferred, how do you know? What is it about them that you're like, oh yeah, this is the good one, or this is the
they'll
good
pick
one?
up the phone. No.
Yes, that's fine with me.
Yeah, just again, communication. I
Yeah.
think the worst thing that could happen is you assume that everything is moving along. And I just heard a story the other day. They, basically thought everything was fine, and they got to a certain point. They're like, "Oh wait, I don't think I've heard from the appraiser yet,"
Mm-hmm.
and reached out to the lender, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I don't have that. I'm not working on that file. Like that's not mine." So, whoops.
Yeah.
So somebody forgot to say, "Hey, we switched lenders," and then just the ball was dropped. But
Switch around.
yeah, it wasn't my story.
Tell
but,
me,
yeah.
so how do you have your business structured? Are you making those calls to the appraisal, the lender, or do you have a team member that does it? How's that work for your personal business?
Yeah, my personal business, I'm doing that. Also, a team member is doing that too. So I've had Nicole along with me for almost 10 years now.
Wow. Good for you.
So we kind of, we're on every communication, text, email, everything. So I would say we both handle those responsibilities.
Cool.
But I'm very hands-on. So
You're
a lot of things that other people may delegate to somebody else to do, if I think of it and I'm driving, I'll just do it. I am very hands-on. I like to know what's going on.
Gotcha.
With everything.
I'm the opposite.
And paperwork.
Yes.
I love paperwork.
You love paperwork.
I do. I love
You're one of the
Dalu.
weird
I
salespeople.
know. And I love organizing my loops in certain ways and all of that.
If it's a
Naming
system.
documents.
Yep, it's a system. What that reminds me, we didn't really talk about what's your current volume, or like how many deals you do in a year? What's that?
The past
roughly
few
look like?
years, I think I've settled in around 75-ish deals a year, probably.
That's booking. You
Been
have to
good.
have systems to do that. You know that.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you find those systems so important, though.
Yeah, I think so.
It has to be like.
Yeah, I think I'm very detail oriented, and so I like to keep everything just in a certain way.
Yeah.
Feels good.
From the beginning, you did it that way, or do you evolve
Probably.
it? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's clearly evolved, but
Yeah. I mean, back in the day, we had paper and folders, and I was still very organized with that, and had a system for my organization in the folder or whatever, But thank goodness we don't have folders anymore. But yeah, I think that's a key to my sanity, is having things organized.
Yeah,
For sure.
yeah. The most I did was 58 in 1 year, and I kind of had an admin at the time, and like that was booking for me. And I'm not organized. I'm just I'll grind to get it done, and you do both, which is awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. I am a procrastinator though.
Yeah.
So
Well,
that
clearly on your test, it took you 6 months to pass it, right?
Yes.
Cool. Where do you think, so your volume's there, your number of units is there. What, like in the future Des Moines real estate market, you've been here for 20 years. Where do you see the next, obviously that's no crystal ball, but
Yeah.
how do you feel?
So I always, teams are a huge thing right now, and everybody has teams. And I was always somebody who said, I don't really want to run a team, because, and that comes from a place where I don't feel like I'm a good manager of people. I'm not a great trainer. I keep going back to, I just want to sell. I just want to sell. But I got to the point where I couldn't do everything that was coming on my plate. And so growing was essential. And now I have a small team, and I love my team. Like we get along really well. I can give transactions to them if I want to. I don't have to. But I love the opportunity to, I guess, train via hands-on. And so, having them be involved and having, everything that I do give to them, I want to be a part of it too, because I want to see what's going on and how things are being handled, and jump in when I need to, right?
Yeah.
There's probably a little bit of a control freak in there, but, so I love my little team, and it was essential to get to that point. And, going forward, I don't know how that looks. Maybe it's adding a certain person here or there. And I've always been somebody that's wanted to find the person first and then to create a space for them, versus be in a position where I have to fill a space with just somebody. I having to go through, say, like an interview process for a position, that's not my jam. So if I find somebody and I'm like, gosh, this person would be so great to work with, I'm going to figure out a way to like get them on my team or like be able to work with them. So that's kind of the way that we've gone about that process. Going forward, a goal, and I think kind of a natural goal for most agents is not only to increase volume, but also increase your average, sale price. So that's always been on, in the front of my mind as we look at goals every year. So I do definitely want to continue that, and just being able to refer with confidence and build that little team, and make sure we keep, our people within our team.
Yeah. When you said when you see that person, you would love to find a spot for them.
Yeah.
How do you identify that person?
I don't know. It just feels right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, great experience, energy, great energy.
Okay.
That's probably the biggest thing. Something that I think I'm really afraid of is drama, because I don't handle it well. I don't want to be around it. I don't create it. I just dismiss it.
Yep.
And so if somebody's looking for a place to
stir the pot,
like, it's not here. It's not with me. So I think energy is probably one of the biggest things that when I see somebody and I'm like, oh man, they have a great, energy about them, I think they'd be fun to work with. Because here's the deal. Life is short. It's got to be fun. And I have a constant battle of, oh my gosh, I'd really like to do this differently, or I need to revamp this whole system because it could just be so much better. And yes, we want to do that. But also, we're just trying to do the best we can, and we're just trying to have fun while we're doing it. Yeah. So there's a balance that I don't think I've found, but I'm aware of it, because I always want to keep refining. And the refiner in me can also be paralyzing. Yeah. And so that's one thing that's probably having a coach is the best thing for me, because I'll be like, oh, I can't send that out because I got to do this, or I have to create this whole thing. Like I have to recreate the wheel, basically. Yep. My coach will be like, no, you don't. You can have, you can pull this together, just send it out, just do it. And so that was probably the biggest lesson that I've learned with having a coach. And still to this day, like, obviously our coaching sessions have evolved over the years, but it's just as much personal as it is business.
Have you stayed with the same coach?
Yes. So I had Grace, my coach, at the very beginning when I started. And then I had another coach for probably 2 or 3 years. And it was okay, but I could tell it was different. And I was dreading my calls, and I'd say
don't pay that much money to dread
yeah, I know.
Calls.
Or I would say I did something and I really didn't, just to like get through the call. And I knew that was not fair to me or to him. And so I said, I'm going to quit unless I can have Grace back.
Yeah.
And so she took me on, and now we've been still coaching together ever since. And I've met her, like we're good friends. So yeah. And she knows when to push me and when, and sometimes you show up to the call and you say, you know what, gosh, I didn't do anything now. I didn't do anything. Give me my beating now, whatever. And that's why I say show up and be coachable, because there is preparation that goes into it. Just like a meeting with your team, there's preparation to go into it. And that was probably another lesson, is just be prepared for what you're doing, going into the day.
Yeah, for sure. What about the Des Moines real estate market? What's the future here the agent should consider, think about, worry about, be excited about?
Well, I think obviously our industry as a whole has gone through some major shifts and changes. And
more paperwork for lovely people.
Yay. And I can see how it would be really difficult for new agents.
Okay.
So I think, you know, and I think a lot of people do want to be on teams. I do think that's probably where most new agents want to start, is be a part of a team. And I think there's a lot of education in that, and kind of latching on to somebody and watching them. This is kind of going down a different road, but I remember as a young agent seeing people in our Des Moines market and saying, gosh, you know, they're doing a great job. I see them everywhere. I see their name everywhere. Their signs everywhere. They're killing it. What are they doing that I could be doing? And at the time, that thing was, I feel like there were certain agents that I had pinpointed that I was watching, and the common theme that was CRS. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to get my CRS designation.
Okay.
So went through the classes, went through a few events and trainings and things like that, and met other people. Now I think it's, you know, a lot of networking and being in certain places and, you know, education, of course, I think, but also just becoming a part of certain networks to be able to grow your reach. So I really did take it upon myself to look at, you know, some of these agents and say, what are they doing that I could be doing, and how can I get to that place?
Yeah. Do they know that you're watching them?
I did tell them. Yes, I did.
I always laugh at that. So
Yeah.
in our office, there's been some disagreements, arguments, controversy over having an agent list and roster and like where everyone's at, like in order. Like I'm a competitor. So I see people, like I've just had the office email it to me directly.
Yeah.
And me and another gal proposed, let's put it on the board so like all the agents can see if they want to.
Like where they're at.
Yes.
Yeah. See, sometimes that's motivating because we have that too. And I am motivated by it, but others are not.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean by it being.
That is what we've heard.
Okay.
So anyway, yeah, that's, but I always said like, you pick a couple people above you and you don't need to tell them that you're competing with them, but you shoot for them, right? You shoot for their numbers, and that should drive you if you're not able to self-motivate of just like, I want to beat last year type thing.
Yeah.
That's how I do it. Right?
Yeah,
It sounds like
sure.
you're doing something similar, which is cool. Okay. Let's see what else. How about like your business growth? What do you, besides just grinding, right? What's been your like key for your first 5 years and maybe your last 5 years?
Yeah. Well, I think that a key thing for me is motivation, and how do we stay motivated? Because this industry has been through a lot of ups and downs in the past probably 5 years, right? And I've heard a lot of agents just say, you know what, I'm just over it. I just want to be done, or I'm not that motivated, or I don't even care. And for some reason, that has not been me. So I remember a year or two ago, I just got a random call from one of our brokers, and he was like, where's your head at? Like, where's your headspace right now? I'm like, you know what? I am head down, motivated, grind it out, work. And I still sometimes wonder where that motivation comes from. Like, why do I feel that way some days? Most days. But even to the point where I was like, I don't need a vacation. I'm just ready to work. And I think part of that was we knew that changes were coming. And so it's like, I got to establish my ground now and know that that will pay off in the future. And so I still even said that just the other day. He was like, where's your head at with everything? I'm like, you know what? I'm still like ready to.
When are you not grinding though?
I don't know. When I completely stop and just need to have a day.
Yeah.
And that happens, you know, like, and we got out of town, my husband and I, for a few days, about a month ago. And it was great. Like I needed those 3 days just to like kind of reset. But I don't like to unplug, healthy or not, but so I think motivation is a huge thing. And I think, you know, everybody says, what's your why? Find your why. That's your motivation. And obviously for me, family, friends, all of that, but freedom to choose is kind of my why. Like if I want to do something, be somewhere, I want to be able to do it.
Yeah.
So
that's freedom is my it's one of my biggest.
It's our free spirits.
I don't think that I have.
Are you a free spirit?
I don't think I am.
Oh.
Because I work out of the office a lot. Like 8 to 5 is my, like, I'm there almost all the time.
I am too. Yeah.
And so like like showing up later, like I just don't, I'm not, that's not me. So I don't know, maybe I'm a free spirit. More or less like, don't tell me what to do.
Yeah.
Like, kind of anti-government.
Yeah.
Like that's me. I mean, the government has a place, but not as much as it currently does.
Sure.
In my opinion.
Fair. Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, that's the real estate world. It's also just unlimited potential and high, like just the ceiling is literally not there. And seeing other people and be like, if that guy can do it, I can do that.
Yeah. And I think it really just boils down to you can get out of it what you put into it. And I 100% believe in that. And I know it's not for everybody. But, when you work hard, take a chance on yourself, believe in yourself, and, do the things, it will come to you is what and I've always lived out of kind of an abundance mentality. I don't want to operate out of fear. There's, I know you were talking about this on another podcast where there's enough for everybody, and there is. But, when you believe in the abundance factor, I think it will come to you.
Yeah. Gary Keller always says, the Keller Williams guy, he always says, take your unfair advantage or take your unfair share. Right?
Yeah.
He's like, there's a share out there and you can take your unfair share.
Sure.
But like that's leaving enough for everybody, but you can take more than what you think you can.
Sure.
Cool. What advice you have for like the 20-year vet agent that's like ready to, still 10 years away from hanging it up, but like still needs to work 10 more years? What's your advice for them?
I think maybe probably identifying what it is you like to do most, and identify the things that you don't like to do. What are you good at? What are you not good at? And just figure out how you can keep doing more of what you love and do less of what you don't, so that the rest of your time is spent in a happy place. Like, you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Have you read the book by Dan Sullivan and Who Not How?
Yes.
It's Benjamin
I've
Hardy.
listened to it. Yes.
Yes.
I'm a listener, not a reader.
Me too. There's only one book that I actually read.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Who Not How.
Yeah.
So the 20-year vet is like, I need to hang it up, but I don't want to yet, or I can't yet. Yeah. Find the admin, the agent that can do the things that you are not as good at and still gleans. I mean, I had Anthony, like perfect example. Anthony Lynn was on here and he talked for his first couple of years, he just shadowed the whatever main agent it was that he was under. And like, there is so much, it's a small team, right? It could be a team, but you don't have to like put the team name on it, right?
Yeah.
You could do that kind of internally and just mentor a younger agent.
For sure. And I think you have to go into it with like, okay, I'm teaching this person and they are going to go off and do their thing and not be bitter about that. Cause I think that that's also, when you hire that's living out of a fear mentality. When you hire somebody, train them, teach them all the things that they're going to go off and then, take your systems and go do their thing.
I hear that so much.
You know what? That's the way it is.
I always say like, that's your fault as a leader.
Yeah.
Right. If you don't want that and they didn't tell you that was their plan, right? Like you clearly didn't provide something for them that they needed. So they yes, I agree with that, but I disagree with that because I feel like a lot of times people are starting in this business under somebody, but their ultimate goal is to go do their own thing. Right.
So I think that's, the ultimate goal. But
for most team members, their ultimate goal is to leave and do their own.
I would think so, but maybe that's not the case.
I could never been on a team. I'm in the process of starting a small team too, and it'll get bigger and bigger. But I struggled with the team thing for a long time because of that. Because I could never join a team because I didn't see the value. As I'm developing what a team looks like, I'm like, oh, this is Not for everybody, but it's for.
See, and I will tell you, I went to a conference, and this was probably 3 or 4 years ago, and it was a huge focus on teams, and it was Buffini, and he said, just watch. Teams, everybody's going to be on a team. Everybody coming into the market, new agents, everybody's going to be one. And I couldn't figure out why. I honestly was like, why? And I think what I think it comes down to is the younger generation places more value on balance and learning and shadowing and doing things right. And maybe not just having that or having, I guess, kind of a fallback.
Yeah.
I don't know. I couldn't
it's less
figure
responsibility.
Yeah. But I'm built that I want all the responsibility.
Me too.
And so I couldn't understand it. And maybe I still don't, but
I'm the same way. It's the reason I thought, when I first started, I was like, I'm not going to have a team because I can't provide enough value to an agent to be on my team. So now that I've researched it, I listen to a boatload of podcasts on it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the team thing is super interesting.
Yeah. And it makes me wonder because when I first started real estate, I did join up with one gal, and it was the Hill Nelson real estate team, and Brandy Nelson, she sells real estate in the Ames market. And her and I were a part of a team for probably 3 years, and it worked beautifully. We didn't have a clue what we were doing. The reason we did it is because we really served the same. We were friends, and so we had the same friends, the same kind of spheres, if you would. We're from a small town. We lived in that small town, and so it made sense to not really have people make a choice between us. We kind of did it for that reason, not make it awkward. So we split everything, the listings, we split 50-50, buyers, we split 75-25 or something like that. And it worked beautifully. And then you started to see people in the office do the same thing for about 6 months, and then it would blow up. And people tried to create that, and they couldn't. And then when I moved to Des Moines in 2008, and we, separated our team or whatever, I've just been on my own since then. Everybody there was just a single agent mentality. And then I think it's just been in the last 5 years, because you see all these mega teams and in other parts of the country, and how teams are run they're very structured, very systematic. And, my free spirit is still I just kind of want to do it the way I want to do it. And, again, the control thing. So there's a part of me that says, gosh, I really need to have this down. I need to refine this. I need to make it better. And then the other part of me is you know what? I can just do it the way we're doing it. Yeah. And it's okay to make it up along the way and, fix the things that need fixing. 'Cause again, we're here to just have fun and serve people and do a good job.
When's the last time in your career has not been fun? When was the when was the,
Yeah. I remember certain times where, 2021. So, oh my gosh, just Nicole and I were both booked and double booked, and we were running, and it was every single day till late at night, and get the offer in, and then make the second offer and the third offer and whatever. That was when I said, I need help.
Okay.
So that's where we actually brought on a buyer agent, because I could not handle it, and it just wasn't even fun. I was burnt out then, for sure. And then I think the other things that I remember are just hard deals.
Okay.
If we've had a hard deal, that always makes it challenging, right?
Yep.
And when I say hard, I mean hard out of the ordinary, just.
We all know.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. Yes.
Yeah.
Cool.
But other than that,
when's been the most fun, years of your career, or what was going on?
I would say this year was pretty fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What
I
made
know.
it?
Well, I had some really, probably the last 2 years. I feel my goal was to kind of break into a new tier of the market.
What's that?
High end.
Luxury.
Mm-hmm. And that's been intentional. And, having one of the, most expensive listings on the market ever was fun, and selling it has been fun. And that's it's been great. And that keeps me motivated, but it also makes me think, okay, what's next?
Yep.
Like, what's next?
Yep.
So, I think that's been a lot of fun.
Cool.
Even with all the changes.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to share with lenders and agents today?
Besides communication.
Yeah, no, just communicate.
Communicate.
Answer your phone.
Communicate. Yes.
When you work with Megan, just call her.
I think so. And call me old school, I guess. I don't know. I mean, maybe everybody doesn't share that. When we have our meetings or team meetings together and somebody's struggling with something, I say, did you call them? No, I'm like, okay, well, pick up the phone. It seems to solve a lot of problems. So I can't stress that enough, really.
It's old school, but it's the truth.
But it's human.
Yes.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
And we're not going away. No. So.
Nope. Yeah. Cool.
That would be it.
Awesome. Well, thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
If anyone, sure you're on all the social media handles.
Yep.
So.
Yeah. 515 Realtor is my handle. Otherwise it's meganmitchum.com, and we are the Megan Mitchum & Co. team.
Awesome.
Find me on social,
cool.
online.
Thanks for your time today.
Thank you.
We'll see you.
All right. Have a good one.
You too.